Hello, the internet, and welcome to another episode of Best of Five. It's the weekly podcast where sometimes we talk about FGC stuff. This week, we can't mess around. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of FGC stuff going on, especially since we missed last week. I apologize. I got food poisoning last week, so it's all my fault and nobody else's fault here. So, apologies from me. Thank you, Steve, the Ace King, Offsuit Jurek, for the resub. Sub into your own show. Good job. Speaking of which, I am joined, as always, by my cohorts. First, Steve, the main squeeze, Ace King, Offsuit Jurek. Steve, how's it going?
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's going.
Same. I can agree with that. And, as always, the very lovely, multi-talented, force to be reckoned with, the purple Sharpie. Sharpie, what's good?
Grappler apologists don't deserve anything in this world.
Sorry, I almost just drowned it in air. After hearing that, I was so shocked. Glad to see everything is the same. I feel like all these intros, it's always Steve saying, things are okay, and Sharpie putting down grapplers. So I guess things are as they should be. Well, things are as they are.
You can't get too high, you can't get too low. You just got to aim for that creamy middle.
Mm-hmm.
Like an Oreo.
The creamy middle. Speaking of creamy middle, tonight on the show, we're going to talk some Guilty Gear. Of course, Guilty Gear released last week. We're going to talk about it. The Intel World Open, there are results. We're going to talk about Vortex. We're going to talk about how KOF got delayed. E3 just happened. CEO's going crazy. Riptide's going crazy. Apparently, Xanadu's going crazy. Everybody's going crazy, and we're going to talk about it. We got some trailers and other announcements and stuff as well. But before we get to all that, Steve?
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah.
I believe we have a grand old patented recap coming our way.
And grand is the word for it because we had, over the last couple weeks, some big events. Let's start in the world of Mortal Kombat. We had the regional finals for the Mortal Kombat Pro Competition. These were regional online events where you earn points to qualify. In North America, it was to qualify for the top 16. Everywhere else, it was to qualify for the top 8. Let's start in Brazil. Conqueror, a familiar name, won last year's Liga Latina, which covered all of South and Latin America. He is the Brazilian champion, holding off Baca in the grand final there. Moving on to Liga Latina Norte, northern part of South America. Or of Central America, excuse me. Jaaahsh, representing Colombia, getting the win. G Viper and Yadriel El Punk rounding out the top 3. Yadriel representing Cuba. Man, it is good to see some countries you don't expect to see in these top 8s. Obviously, Dominican scene, very strong, well represented with 5 players in the top 8. But good on you, Yadriel. Liga Latina Sur, the South America contest. It was an all-Chilean final. Hellraiser getting the nod over Eternal in the grand final to take the $1,500 prize there. Rounding out Liga Latina is the Mexican competition, and it was Illuminati who won it over Ice Scorpion. I believe Illuminati used Aaron Black. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he used Aaron Black the entire way.
I cannot correct you because I was not there. I apologize.
That was the previous weekend. This past weekend were the finals for the Intercontinental Combat, which was Europe and Oceania, as well as the North American League finals, obviously US and Canada. Starting with Oceania, Waz, representing Australia, gets the win. Swazi carrying the flag for New Zealand, taking home the silver. Wi-Fi Scorpion finishing third in the results, but first in the best name competition. And really, that's all that matters.
That is the biggest award. Let's be real.
That's the best award. Kicking it over to the Middle East region, Tekken Master, the biggest name from the Middle East, holds it down, gets the win. You see the rest of the top three there, knocking off his teammate in the grand final. Wasim, I believe is how it's pronounced. I am not 100% sure, and I apologize for that. And then moving on to Europe. The Europe East region was won by Mr. Ramirez.
Oh, Mr. Ramirez.
Holding it down for Russia. Topping the podium along with K-Top on the second step for Greece and Russia's Val in third. Nivik, one of the players who made several journeys from Europe to the U.S. for pro competitions in the past, rounding out the top four. And then the EU East region was won by someone from a nation that's not going to be part of the EU anymore. Video Games Yo continues his great run, holding off Law Corridor in the grand final to take home top honors. Jaaahsh, TQ, and Zoker rounding out the top four there. And we'll bring it home from the Mortal Kombat side of things with what happened in North America. Since there were only 2 regions in North America, that meant that the regional finals were twice as big and the prizes were twice as valuable. Combat winning the East region over Hijinks, Kerbalicious, and Samij rounding out the top 4. So Combat takes home the $3,000 grand prize.
It's like when the main character of a movie says the name of the movie.
I mean, it happens sometimes. That's why it's the name of the movie. You know, you got to shoehorn it in it somewhere. If you have a problem with the name Combat, take a step back and rewind, because that's who won the Western region. Rewind.
I'll give it up.
Rewind beats Jukes in the grand final. Pop-Tart 964 giving Wi-Fi Scorpion a run for the money with in the best name competition, rounding out the top 3 in an all-American top 8 there.
Wait, you're gonna bring up the best name competition and not talk about Unfazed Moses tied for 13th?
Unfazed Moses just seems, so blasé about everything.
He is
Some would
unfazed.
say that it pales in comparison from the lack of phasing. Some would say that.
Truth.
You know what I would say?
What would you say?
I would say that I'm getting a little angry hearing about it.
Why is that?
And you know who else is getting angry?
Who's that?
Capcom Cup. They are a little angrier now than they were 2 weeks ago, because last week's competition was the first stop for the Middle East region, and it was Angry Bird holding off fellow Bird, Big Bird, in the grand final. GTR finishing third to round out an all UAE podium. Obviously, those two are two of the strongest players in that region, but this is the first time they've ever met in the grand final of a CPT event.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes Angry Bird's way. So Angry Bird is headed to Capcom Cup. He will be joined by Takamura, who won this past weekend's event, Europe West. Takamura bested Momi in the grand final. Ryan Hart getting third. Good to see him doing his thing, holding it down for Germany still. As Scudo rounding out the top 4. So Takamura, for the second straight year, qualifies for Capcom Cup. Hopefully, this time he actually gets to play in it.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't able to make it last time around. I forgot about that.
Yeah, because, no one did.
Well, no one was able to make it. You're right. I caught myself, kind of. Sharpie,
right.
Sharpie, I think everybody wants... I think we need to stop the show here for a second. Everybody is infatuated with the fact that we have a guest, and I feel like we need to introduce this guest
Hi,
the
everybody.
show.
This is Athena. Little baby girl, say hi.
Oh.
Yeah, hi. Ooh, ooh. I think
Very
she wants
interested
down,
in
so I'm gonna let her
something
down. I think she wants down. She wanted to come up, and she was like purring the entire time, and I was like, okay, fine, because she's been very temperamental lately. But I just thought maybe she wanted to sit in my lap, and she did. And then as soon as I started speaking, she's like, I want no more of this, which is always fantastic for viewers. But her name is Athena. She's 2 years old. I got her about 3 months or 2 months ago now on my birthday back in April, and I absolutely love her. She's the very first cat I've ever owned, and I'm more of a dog person for sure, but I still love her unconditionally.
Is she a cable chewer?
You know she's not. And that's what I love so much about her. Is whoever had her previously, like, she doesn't scratch any of my furniture. She does this thing where she kind of scrounges around for food, but she doesn't really eat anything on the ground. So she's like a very well-trained cat. She's a very, very fantastic first cat because I didn't have to train her to do anything. She ate the food I gave her. She loves the litter box I left. I got her some cat furniture and she absolutely loves that. She scratches only her scratching post. She doesn't chew my cables unless I like start messing with her and playing with it, which I haven't been doing, so she doesn't learn that cables are fun or toys, but she's a really loving cat. And the worst thing about her is the fact that she likes to wake me up at 3 a.m. to remind me that she is like alive. Just decides to like stop my breathing by sleeping on my face.
Yeah.
I've been told that this is a sign not of murderous lust, but just love. So just trusting the internet on that one.
Well, the internet knows a thing or two about cats, so I would trust the internet about cats. Thank you for giving us a little intro to the new guest of the show, the new co-host. So we appreciate Athena hopping on the show for a little bit.
I know everyone, that's why people follow, is to personally hear about the very antiquated and very important dealings of my pet.
Yep. Personally. Anyway, after that awful pun, Steve, are we done with the recap? Or is there more?
Let's kind of shift gears with this recap.
Oh.
Because in addition to the Mortal Kombat competition, we also over the last couple weeks witnessed the Intel World Open qualifiers. These were the first step along the path to qualify for the Intel World Open finals. So you had open qualifiers around the world, top 2 finishers from each of these open qualifiers qualified to the closed qualifiers. And then a certain number of people, depending on the region, will get out of those qualifiers and to the regional final where money will be at stake. And I kind of want to go through the results and see if we have any predictions on who we think will get, who we think are the players to watch.
Okay, let's do it.
So let's start with region number 1, and that is Japan and Korea. So you see 8 finalists for Japan. 6 of them will advance to the final. You see 4 finalists for Korea. 2 of them will advance to the regional final there. Which names jump out at you there?
The fact that Daigo's not in Japan jumps out at me.
There, that's going to be the case when you have any sort of competition like this. Nobumochi, Tokido got in at the very end. You know, so many great players in every region, and there's just not enough room for everybody to get in. But
all right, I'm gonna put down a bold prediction. I'm sorry to cut you off, Steve.
That's okay.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Until the Olympics come around, I think Fudo's gonna win it. The whole thing.
That is a bold prediction. I think it's. I think you got to watch out for NL. He's not necessarily my pick to win, but I think he'll get through the South Korea loop, and he may take a scalp or 2 in the regional final. Let's head over to East Asia.
Sharpie, did you want to make a prediction on anyone here?
I did not. I know better than to open my mouth with a bad prediction because I made a couple bad predictions about Nintendo Direct, and I I had to delete a couple of things I promised, so no, I'm good. But thank you very much for asking.
Okay, no problem. Speaking of good, you know who else is good? Zero Star X for resubbing for 16 months in a row. Thank you, Zero Star.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw, indeed. I drove through a lot of Texas today, so I'm surprised that that's not in my vocabulary yet. Cool. Japan and Korea are in the books. Steve, where else are we going? What's next?
Let's go to East Asia. So this went through a little bit of a change. There was an East Asia region as well as the three you see on there. However, they had no entrance. So due to a lack of entrance, China and Taiwan each get an additional place in the regional final. So 3 of those 4 names in Taiwan will make it. 3 of those names in China will make it, and 2 of the Hong Kong players will.
29, my boy.
He could do damage. Oil King, I think, is going to be a big problem. And Xiaohai as well. It's been a little while since we've seen him, at least stateside, since we've seen him.
Yeah,
but
I remember Xiaohai was a force to be reckoned with, man. So
still is.
Yep.
Still is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Let's kick it over to Southeast Asia. So you've got 2 players from Singapore who will make it, and then 6 from the rest of the Southeast Asia region, including CPT regulars Chuan and SKZ, Brandon, and Sien. The Singapore one is going to be tricky because, Brandon's, SKZ's, Sien, one of those players at least is not going to make it to top 8.
I'm putting my money on Sien making it, though.
I also believe Xian will come out on top there in top 2.
Who's willing to bet a pizza? Let's start the pizza bets now.
Not like this. Not like this.
I'll do a pizza on Sien not making it.
Okay.
Ooh.
Let's shake hands. That's a good OS right there. I appreciate that.
All right. Let's head over to Oceania.
All right. That's one pizza bet. What's next?
We got Australia and the rest of the Oceanic region in there. You've got familiar names like Ghost Chips, Broomers, BK Sama, Somniac, Travis Styles. 5 make it out from Australia, 3 from the rest of the region. I think Travis Styles is going to do some things in there, but we shall see.
Yeah, that was my pick too, to be completely frank.
All right. Next up, Middle East, Africa, and West Asia. So you have 3 players from UAE and 5 from the Middle East. And obviously the 2 names we talked about earlier, Angry Bird and Big Bird, they jump out as the heavy favorites.
Mm-hmm.
But do not sleep on someone like Dragon Slayer X. Do not sleep on someone like Dark Sword. Could do some things. Next up, Eastern Europe. You've got a couple of familiar names from Russia, including Duaktik and Ross and Sunmate. Rest of Eastern Europe, Shady Imposter, Take My Mash, another great name in that race for the greatest name of the week.
I agree. Yeah, Mute the Scream is also a really good one too. I appreciate it. Yeah,
I like Shady Imposter and Take My Mash.
Okay, so 2 for Take My Mash, 1 for Mute the Scream. We'll iron it out. We'll consult the council on who has the best name out of the Europe East. Steve, where's next? Where next? Where are we going?
Let's go to Western Europe because we've got some big names. EU West, you've got Phenom in there. We got Takamura, just won a CPT event. Vega Patch holding it down for Spain. Veggie. Look at the UK, though. AKA Jones, who won the last chance qualifier for Red Bull Kumite few weeks ago. Hurricane and Infectious.
The evil
One of
winner.
those players, yeah, one of those players at least is not making top 8 here.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's wild.
Yeah. And then you've also got France, where Mr. Crimson has done damage.
Mhm.
Nas is a player to watch. Kills You's a player to watch. Again, so it's going to be very difficult to get through.
Yeah, Big for Lil was pointing out something that I was finding out I'm missing. No Problem X for the UK and no Luffy for France.
Absolutely. There only 4 players get in. It's the format of the tournament. There's 2 tournaments. You got to make grand finals in one of them. If you don't, wah, wah.
Wham, wham.
That's competitive gaming, honey.
That's
For sure.
what you got to do.
No paycheck for you. Who's next?
Let's go a little more local here. North America. On the east side of things, you've got 6 players making it out of the U.S. and 2 from Canada. Fluxwave, probably the most successful player CPT-wise from the Canadian side. But U.S., you've got some very, very good players, especially recent events. Rob TV has been running strong. Joey, that's my boy right there. Idom, Saban, Punk, Brian F. You got Young Art in the mix. You've got Lud, who Lud and Cammy are players who get slept on a lot. And they are very, very strong players.
Yep. Lud is a frequenter of the Next Level arcade for the Next Level battle circuits. Of course.
Ludovic is also a Xanadu regular from my specific region, and
nice.
very frequently gets top 4 at our local events. Bested occasionally by Darkchild or OG On, or even I'm blanking right now, but Lud is a very strong player for sure.
Yeah, I remember he beat me in a DreamHack tournament a couple years ago, so obviously he's gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
Also, good to see Young Art in the mix. I think it's been a hot minute since we've seen Arturo competing.
Okay, since Lud is kind of representing your local scene somewhat, and Joey, formerly from the Twin Cities, representing my local scene. Can we do a pizza bet on that? Whoever finishes higher.
Now, is that Joey D, the Marvel player, or is that a different Joey?
No, Joey FGC, formerly known as Mojo Jojo.
Oh, okay. I don't really know that person, but I have enough belief in my DMV brethren, Lud, that I will take that bet.
All right,
Shake on it. The left-right mix-ups are so dangerous here.
For sure. All right, so that's
Oh
two
man,
pizza bets
did
in the
y'all
book.
see that? The delay-based netcode was so good there.
It's that lean-back netcode.
It almost looked like it was offline. Ha 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 ha.
All right, we got to move on. We got to stick to the schedule. Where are we going
Yeah.
next, Steve? Sorry to... your joke was amazing, Sharpie. I'm so sorry to cut it off. I appreciated it.
U.S. West, or North America West, excuse me. Some strong players from the U.S. 6 of them are going to make it out. Donkadillis, Jonah B, Nephew, and Samurai obviously have had success in Street Fighter League. Most notable name on the Canada side is probably Ceroblast, who was just not too long ago had their indefinite suspended lifted from Capcom Pro Tour events.
But this is the Intel World Open. It's not a Capcom Pro Tour event.
It is not, and I'm not entirely sure if because they were banned from all Capcom associated events. So I believe that also applied to the Intel World Open, but it was lifted, slash ended. So making the best of their opportunity. We'll see how far they make it. And then 2 more to go.
Go for it.
Central America and Mexico, got some strong players there. El Tigre and Kusanagi, the two probably most notable names from Mexico. But you've got, once again, you look at that DR list, Crossover, Louis Man, and Meta. At least one of them's not making top 8.
Wait a second. We're missing someone. Kaba? Right? Kaba was a DR person. Where'd they go?
They didn't make it.
Sad times.
But Mono, former best of 5 guest, holding it down for Puerto Rico. They've got a chance to make some noise, but again, you got to believe that the DR players are among the favorites here. But don't be surprised if Kusanagi does some damage.
Word.
And then let's
stop. Sorry.
Let's
interrupt.
let's close it off with South America. This is Brazil and everybody else. 4 from each place. Picaro, one of Peru's strongest players, is the name that jumps out to me on the South America side of things. On Brazil, you've got some familiar faces like Didi Mokov, Paulo Webb, Juninho. And then you've got Ronaldinho, who's been on a bit of a roll. Won the CPT Brazil event a couple weeks ago. Made it first crack. Got into the first qualifier for Brazil for this. So.
The name is lucky. The name is lucky. You know, you call the power of football when you invoke Ronaldinho.
And all the memes.
And all of the memes. So, yeah. That is... that's who you get to watch. It will be a couple. They'll start in a couple weeks, and then end of July into early August is when we see the regional finals, where the money is on the line.
Solid. Thank you, Steve, for that awesome patented recap with the addition of the Intel Open recap. Can't wait to see what comes out of that. Is there anything else left of the recap, or is that the end?
Let's dive right into our big topics.
Okay, cool. First off, let's cover this because this is important. Vortex, formerly known as AnimEvo, now known as Vortex, has released their games list. Shall we take a look at those?
Yeah, let's take a look at that, because you've got a pretty good list right here. You've got Central Fiction and Cross Tag. You've got Fight of Animals. You've got Fexel, Garu. You've got Plus R, King of Fighters 2002. You've got Melty, and you've got Mahjong Soul, which was one of the great breakout hits of last year's event. So that's a pretty good list, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very strong lineup for the first event under the Vortex Gallery name.
But Steve,
yes,
I feel like there's something missing.
Like there wouldn't be a second image to this, would there?
Yes, there is, and here it is. Double the games.
So yes, a massive 25, if I remember correctly. So in addition to everything you saw earlier, Sam Show Special, Tatsunoko versus Capcom, Kyanta 2 is in there.
It's back.
V-Save, Virtual Fighter 5 in the mix as well. Waku Waku 7, I still do not think that's a real game. I still think that was just something that Hell Pockets just threw in there just to see if anyone would notice. I'm on to you.
Also, I just want to point this out. Shout out to Punch Planet. If you haven't played Punch Planet, that's a really fun game.
So, I was going to say I wanted to wait until Steve was at a stopping point, but I'm very happy because I feel like Punch Planet is one of those games, along with Skullgirls and Them's Fighting Herds, that doesn't get their props for the amount of innovation and the amount of accessibility they place inside of that game. It's such a good game. It's just inherently a very good fighting game, and the fact that it is one of the more, I feel, successful independently made fighting games right now inside of the sphere in the last, I would say, half a decade is so amazing. I'm very happy it's at this. I'm very happy it's at Vortex. That was such a good pickup.
Yeah, It's about time they got their day in the spotlight of the Vortex.
100%. 100%.
All right. Okay. Quick block grab, and by block grab I mean pick one. What's your favorite game out of the Vortex lineup? Steve, you have a favorite?
I guess I gotta watch Waku Waku 7 just to see how he can pull this off. I just want to see some good like this might be the year I actually watch a Kianta 2 tournament from beginning to end, just because that game is still a fever dream to me.
It is really good. I wish we had the trailer like we did last year, because that was a trip and a half. Sharpie, do you have a favorite game on this out of this lineup?
It's a tie between Plus R and Melty for me. And Plus R because I absolutely adore Plus R as like a Skullgirls player. I really, really enjoy Plus R. Anytime I get to see offline Plus R, I'm very excited. And Melty, it's only a matchup between Melty because I've been watching so much Melty with the lead up to Climax lately. So it's just like when is the event scheduled for again, Steve?
This is going to be around the same time as Evo, so late July into early August.
See, this is going to be, I think, the big Melty Blood event prior to Climax, which is why I say Melty, and it's a really, really close toss-up for me. Just because, by default, if you'd asked me any other time, I would have said very easy Plus R, but the fact that there's going to be so much offline talent there, specifically for the Melty Blood scene right before Climax, that's huge. That's very exciting to me.
And by the way, this is the initial lineup. Their tournaments could be added through June 27th.
Yeah, see, I'm interested in seeing like who's actually already pre-registered for the event, because I know people that frequented AnimEvo, like Scrot Vermilion and Hotashi, basically all people that went to Evo would attend this event. So I'm very interested in seeing who the pre-registrants are already, you know?
For sure.
Registration is coming soon. Trademark.
Ooh, okay.
So no one has signed up quite yet, but they are accepting volunteers right now. You can follow them on Twitter at 956 Productions. So that will be the place to go to follow all of the Vortex Gallery news. Also, the tournament I will actually probably watch is Uni out of that. So
yeah. I think I really want to watch Fexo, man. High level fighting EX Slayer is so good. I'm still sad it's not called Flex, but I'll watch it.
We'll live. We got more to cover.
Yes. Let's talk the big kahuna. Last week, Guilty Gear was released into the wild. June 8th, if you had pre-ordered it on the PlayStation. The 11th on everything else, or if you hadn't pre-ordered it. It is out. Sharpie, I know you said you got to play some. How do you feel about the game?
I love the game. I think the netcode is very reliable. I got to play quite a few matches, and by quite a few, I mean about 4 before I had my hitbox manhandled away from me by my fiance, who then proceeded to basically play Potemkin and state, that nobody else was going to have fun that evening. I also had the good fortune of hosting an offline tournament. The very first offline tournament that Xanadu hosted was exclusively for Guilty Gear, and I got to see some really, really good Guilty Gear in an offline setting. And I have to say, as someone who's seen it as both online and offline, the difference in gameplay is so negligible. The difference in, the gameplay experience is so negligible at that. It's very nice to see. That's what I'll say. The online experience was very similar to the offline experience for me, and I appreciated that, especially coming from, once again, Skullgirls, Limbs Fighting Hers, games with fantastic netcode, to then go offline and still be able to play at a very similar level felt really, really good. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, obviously this is impossible to react to online and you can do this offline. We're not at that stage yet. We're still at the stage where we can just basically practice right now. We're not at the scummy level of gameplay yet, you know what I mean? So it's fantastic to see it in both settings right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. However, I have some thoughts on it, and I wrote this all while I was very salty. So you know these are going to be good. And I had written these because I had written these for last week's show. So I have it up on the doc. I'm even going to... I don't usually put myself here on the screen, but here we go. Elon's thoughts on Strive. Written and notated by Elon. And read by Elon. First, ranked lobby tower system is so ass it makes me have buyer's remorse. Here is why. Moving floors interrupts set. Even if you don't want to move floors, it interrupts your set. Right? If you're on floor 10 and you're recommended on floor 8 and you get to floor 9, it interrupts your set. Stupid. Why am I the only person in the Celestial floor in the North America West server? I'm ass at fighting games. I should not be the only person there. Where is the rest? Servers are making me have buyer's remorse. Here's why. Not necessarily the matches. The matches themselves are amazing and they're great. Logging in takes about 30 minutes, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. You have to sit there, and I think we need to hire a therapist for Arxis and their servers because they have a lot of issues communicating, and that's not good. Ranked lobby is still about as bad as the beta was. They warned us it wasn't going to be great, but after paying 80 smackaroos for it, kind of regretting it, not gonna lie. Fishing doesn't feel great. The joy of gacha is gone when you can't even see the fish. You know? Come on. Now,
was there joy in gacha in the first place?
Absolutely.
No, Steve. No, there wasn't.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Absolutely, there's joy in gacha. It's like playing slots, except worse. Now in the developer backyard, they did say that improvements are on the way. They were releasing it in a not so great fashion, and they're gonna slowly improve it along the way. They're gonna add some new modes. One being a combo mode, which you can basically take a combo that was done to you in a match, and you can then place it in the training mode to try and do it or to try and beat against it or something. And Steve, I am sorry. I'm gonna make you bleep out a couple of things here because I have a clip. Because I accidentally ran into something while I was playing Guilty Gear, and I just happened to be streaming on my other channel. And I feel like my reaction to it is I can't duplicate it. So, without further ado, here is me finding some stuff. Sorry, Steve.
It's okay.
This is cool. Soul. Oh, they have counter match or matchup tutorials? Holy okay. Well, me then. Where the was this the entire time? So every time somebody's doing Fafnir, we can just stick out a button. Holy crap, it takes so long. Oh my god. That's crazy. Most of Soul's moves. Anyway, they have matchup
You packed
tutorials.
so much.
Yeah,
You did that little clip.
some of that felt excessive, honestly, Elon.
Look, that's how I speak normally. Okay, that's non-best of 5 Elon normally. But their mission mode covers just about everything, including matchup tutorials, which I think is amazing. I was legit struggling with the Mei matchup, and I found that they teach you how to deal with Dolphin in the matchup tutorial. Beautiful.
That's the type of stuff I want to see.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I have
And they even teach you, it's like, practice against this in training mode to find optimal punishes. They say that verbatim. It's like, oh, thank you. I now know what to do. It's so good.
I'm still bitter. I refuse to lab the matchup with Mei. I'm sorry, I can't. I won't. I refuse. By merit. It's too good. But we can all agree that Soul is kind of BS, right? We can all agree that?
Yeah. But
Okay,
if
cool.
you do those matchup tutorials, they teach you some stuff. Go to mission mode. But yeah. So I'm happy with the game overall. Of course, I'm kind of pissed that the lobby system sucks. I'm kind of pissed that it takes 30 minutes. Like, it feels like I'm back to, like, CRT TVs. You remember when you got home from school, and you turned on the TV, and then you went and did everything while the TV warmed up, and then came back and started watching TV?
Yeah.
Thank you for saying yes.
I mean, I knew that feeling. I played on
yeah.
GameCube, so.
Word. But yeah, so it felt like that, and not in a good way. The other thing I wanted to bring up before we move on from Guilty Gear is we had an event just recently called, I'm assuming it was called Levo. It was Leffen Evo. Because Leffen ran a gigantic tournament for Guilty Gear Strive. He even had Ringe and, oh my goodness, who was the other? Was it Vicious? I don't remember who the other commentator was. I feel awful that I don't know. I apologize. The tournament itself was amazing. The top 8 was ridiculous. Okay, so it was Vicious. Thank you, D Dong Man from the chat, and Blue from the chat. Thank you. It was Ranger Vicious. But yeah, tournament was amazing. Top 8 was amazing. Grand finals was SonicFox and I wish I had written it down. Anyway.
SonicFox won, everybody.
SonicFox won.
Okay, Sonic 1 is what we're leading up to here.
with Leo. Tempest. Thank you, Blue. SonicFox won with Leo with some crazy random, not random, obviously they're very calculated because SonicFox trains their opponents. You know, he DPs Dolphins with Leo, and it was crazy. It was amazing. It was really cool to watch, like, the first glance at high-level Guilty Gear in such a big tournament. So, it was a very tight grand finals reset. Big Lil says, I agree. But yes. That is Guilty Gear in a nutshell. I wish we had more time to talk about it, more time for me to show you stuff. But that's what we got for now. I'm happy with the game overall. What just happened? A bunch of things changed. I'm happy with the game overall. I feel like everybody else is happy with the game overall. Not so much with the lobby system, but hopefully they'll fix it. Any more thoughts on Guilty Gear before we move on?
Well, we did have it as our question of the day. We did ask, how do you like Strive so far? And I don't know if we can pull the graphic up on screen. The majority of respondents, the vast majority, nearly 85%, of respondents said that they were either really liking it or at least kind of liking it. So 6% kind of disliking it, 8.5% saying they really dislike it. We are just a few days into, we're in day 4 officially? Or day 5, excuse me?
I'm on the 11th.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you count 11 as day 1, then we're in day 5.
Yes.
So
all right.
Pretty good results. We do know that there is going to be a season of DLC, 5 characters. There has been some data mining of the game, and the identity of those 5 characters is floating out there. If you wish to spoil yourself, you can. If you wish to avoid that, you can. But it's out there.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Can't wait to see what kind of shenanigans they bring.
And they also announced today, I believe, that they've sold 300,000 copies already.
That's great.
Which is pretty darn impressive thus far. We'll see how big that number goes.
That's a lot for a release of a game, especially through when there was very little promotional content going on at offline events, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And from what I've seen too, like at least for the numbers on Steam have been gangbusters, right? So the power of rollback. Don't underestimate it. Last thoughts on Guilty Gear and the question of the day?
We'll see how we feel in about a week.
True. Very true. So, very true. All right. Let's move on. We do be slightly behind a schedule, but that's okay. KOF, the King of Fighters, recently announced that they're delaying the project. Sad times all around.
I did see that. It's kind of surprising to me because I felt like they were very steady about coming out with release videos every single week, you know?
So we do have a statement from the game's producer Yasuyuki Oda on the postponement. He said, quote, "The development timeline we set out to reach in the beginning has been affected by the ever still rising cases of COVID-19 within Japan. We have made the ultimate decision in the end that the product's quality must come first, and so with that decision comes an altered release window. We sincerely ask for your kind patience and understanding as our development team continues to work hard on King of Fighters 15 as we draw closer to its release." So it is postponed to the first quarter of 2022. No specific date as of yet. Obviously, a lot of things they're going to say is due to COVID, no matter what the industry. Japan, however, is getting hit hard once again. They're still struggling with vaccinations and getting people to actually get vaccinated, distributing the vaccines. So you see several ways Japan is struggling. This is unfortunately one of them.
Yeah, for sure. And, sad times all around, right? Everybody was hoping to play KOF. Now we gotta wait. But hopefully the longer wait means a better game in the end, as we all say to ourselves when something gets delayed. Any final thoughts on the delay? Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
So I don't know if this will necessarily hurt them as much as it would in other years, because there isn't really what other big games are there coming down the pipe in terms of fighting games. Not a whole lot confirmed outside of KOF. I mean, Strive is launched now. Obviously, that was the big one. Now it will be KOF, and there really isn't anything else for it to bump up against as of yet. Melty, I see. In all due respect, I wouldn't necessarily put Melty in that category. I'm not talking about the quality, but I don't think it's going to get as big of an audience as something like KOF would. But really, that's about it. So, yeah, they're still going to have some buffer in terms of having that new game shine on them once it does come out.
For sure. I totally agree. And, it's funny because we did see that the initial, you never get a second chance to make a first impression, and that always, I think, hits home, right? So when KOF 14 released first, things didn't look great. A lot of people were not pleased with the online. There was a lot wrong with it. And I feel like overall that kind of hurt it. To the point where KOF 14 now is a great game since they fixed it up. They added DLC characters. They changed things around. They have not finished the netcode. But a lot more people seem to be playing it because it is a lot more polished now. So I think having that polish right off the bat is going to be a big deal for them. Cool. Sharpie, you're muted.
Oh my god, I'm sorry, I accidentally pressed the mute button. I was saying that basically also the structure of having an open beta where everybody was able to try it and they were very transparent about the netcode, I think that helped foster a lot of goodwill that went a very long way during quarantine.
Sorry, I accidentally unplugged my headphones and I didn't hear anything for the next couple of minutes. I apologize. I'm back.
Why
now.
is everybody accidentally doing stuff? Now I feel like I gotta knock a water bottle down.
I just poured this coffee all over myself. I gotcha. Anyway.
Speaking of gotcha.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a nice transition.
Yeah, it is, right?
Let's go ahead and take a look at some trailers of things that are coming down the pipeline, shall we? Starting first with, you guessed it. I hope this is playing. Oh!
Luong. KOF 15.
That's Luong. She's back. Crowd goes wild.
Making her return from KOF 14. Crowd goes wild. Yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't the only Sam Show announcement. I mean, KOF. I mean, SNK announcement. Sorry, Steve.
No.
That wasn't the only SNK announcement. Let's take a look at the other thing. Cat.
Change jar.
Oh, dang. They came out yesterday. Crazy.
Yes. So along with
I
the balance
love that
patch.
character.
Mama say, Amakusa. Mama say, Amakusa. Mama say, Amakusa.
No. You don't get to do Michael Jackson.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't.
I'm sorry.
Ilan, I'm sorry.
You're right.
I will
All right.
allow you to do several things here. Michael Jackson is not one of them.
Hey, I'm allowed to like Michael Jackson's music, but I will no longer do any Michael Jackson impersonation or sing along songs with songs. Anywho.
Because we're behind schedule,
Yes.
right?
Yep. You know what else happened? This came out today, I think.
Yes. Let's talk. Let's talk about this, because this is a thing. This is a big thing.
Uh-oh. It's a Smash character.
Smack.
Trailer.
What? What?
Yep.
Next battle.
It happened. A Tekken character
Yes.
has finally made it into Smash.
Your little baby girl.
Goodbye, Kirby. Get out of here.
Adios. What?
Kirby escapes. Kirby always escapes.
They always have to act. That was cute. That was so cute.
Kirby always escapes. So, Kazuya is now in Smash Brothers. Everybody's going crazy. What do we think? Grab or block? Block or grab?
Grab. You know, I've
Grab
said this
easy.
before, and I said this before. I'll say this again. Forget what you think of Smash as a fighting game, as a video game. Every time they do something like this, they do it with such care. They throw in fan service in the best way possible, loads and loads of it, and they just do such a good job. It's just the whole thing with Kirby at the end of the trailer. I love those little twists that they do. Mwah!
It is
That's a
really
chef's
good.
kiss out of 10.
And I don't know if you guys saw the direct earlier today, but they showed a couple of his moves, and he has most of his move list from Tekken somehow. He even has his Win God Fist. He's got Crouch Dash. I almost said a bad word there.
If
But
you thought
Crazy.
doing DPs in Smash was going to be challenging,
Korean backdash.
That's what we have Smash boxes for, you know?
True. True. But yeah, absolutely wild. Absolutely crazy. Can't wait to see how this comes out and what
Well,
happens.
it's interesting that you speak about seeing how it comes out because, you know, Elon, I happen to work at one of the biggest Super Smash Brother offline venues in the world.
Yes, and I believe you had some news that you wanted to share that you kind of teased
did.
a little bit at the very top of the show. So,
I did.
Kirby, go for it.
Everyone, I wanted to talk about this last week, but Xanadu has officially opened, and I am so happy because we are one of the very first locals inside of the greater DC, Maryland, and Virginia area to have returned back to the offline setting. I am so incredibly excited for it. We had our very first offline tournament last Thursday. We did exclusively Guilty Gear, and we currently have a mandate in place to only have 128 people maximum inside the venue. We have social distancing techniques, masks, and everything, and it's just so incredibly exciting, especially today, especially with the announcement of a Tekken character in Super Smash Brothers, because the rate that we saw people returning in, the new amount of talent that we saw people returning to Xanadu at, the crossover between Super Smash Brothers and Tekken is what I'm so incredibly excited to see right now. And I don't have to tell you all that these are inherently two totally different communities that we're talking about right now. This game, specifically Tekken 7, may be the game to merge the gap between the both of them. And I'm so incredibly excited to document that and talk to you all a little bit more moving forward regarding it. That's everything.
Wow, that is absolutely exciting. And I know.
So
well, go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry, sir.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I know some of the locals here in Texas are opening up too, and it's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting.
After Maryland opened up the state earlier this month, like it was kind of an all hands on deck type of thing, and so we got to the point where we were like trying to schedule pretty quickly the safest way that we would be able to congregate and play again. And like I said, I wanted to have this conversation last week, and I'm kind of giving everyone brief strokes because there was more I wanted to go over. There was a video and everything that we had, but now that we've done our first local, it doesn't really make sense to go over it as much. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, as soon as I walked into the venue, it felt like home again. And that sense of belonging is what I've really, really missed from offline events. That sense of, dang, you know, I used to come here all the time. I'm so excited to see people here. But always there's the ever moving time aspect of it. You come back, you see people a little bit different than they used to. You know, so many things have changed for every single person coming in the venue, but so many things have stayed the same. It really felt like a huge gathering and a huge welcome back. And I do want to invite everyone to come out to our events. Obviously, you can sign up every single week. We have events right now on Thursdays and Saturdays. Guilty Gear is going to be on Thursday. All other fighting games, with the exception of a few side games, will be on Saturday. You can definitely follow us, twitter.com/Xanadu FGC. I'm sorry, Xanadu Games FGC on Twitter for when we're going to be having our very next event. All right. But thank you so much to everyone who's been supporting us this whole time. And oh my gosh, it was just so, I feel like my words aren't doing it justice. It was so moving seeing people that I hadn't seen for over a year and a half now. I was just blown away.
And how did the first tournament go? You said it was a Guilty Gear 128 person bracket?
We had a maximum of 120 people that we were allowed to have inside of our venue. We actually, I believe, ended at about 42 entrants because we were only open for pre-registration. You could not come up and register on site for security purposes, specifically because we didn't want to go over the cap. So we closed pre-registration about 30 minutes before the tournament opened. And it felt like everyone that came there was very excited to see it. Everybody that was in the event, inside of the venue, felt very safe and secure. And it was just an overall very welcoming experience. It felt like, once again, a homecoming.
Yeah, no, that's super exciting. Super happy for folks over in the Xanadu land. To get their local back, and can't wait to see what comes next. Speaking of Smash
with
tournaments,
Tekken, apparently.
Smash and Tekken. You're right. Speaking of Smash tournaments, though, Steve, I believe you wanted to cover a specific tournament that had a pretty big blow up just recently.
Blow up is probably the wrong word. It blew up. So over the last couple of weeks, you might have seen something about an event called Riptide. This is sort of the spiritual successor with new management of Smash and Splash, one of the bigger Smash events from a couple of years back. They opened up registration and for an offline event to take place later in September, and the response was absolutely insane. They sold out, and then they sold out again when they reopened, and they've got over 2,000 players registered in just a matter of a couple hours. I got the opportunity to sit down with a man called Jaaahsh, Jaaahsh Marcotte. He is one of the core members of the team that is putting together Riptide. And I asked him about some of the things involving that tournament, including what he is looking forward to, what he how this blew up, what his response to it is, and the challenges of running an event in this post-COVID world. Let's run some of that interview right now. Obviously, you made the call back then to not run in 2020. When did you start feeling confident that you could actually run your event in 2021?
We started having earnest conversation about it in April, I would say, as we recognized that vaccination rates were going fairly well across the country. There were rumblings of events starting up on the local level in May and then earlier this month in June. And we sort of made the call. We spoke with our venue. We said to them, hey, we want to run, again, this is back in April, but we want to be especially careful about it. We have all of these sort of policies that they had in place during the sort of height of 2020, or as I said, I guess towards the latter half of 2020, when they still had events there, but they were very spaced out. They were very sanitary. They were governed by these really strict policies. We said, we want to run the event in 2021 we still want to follow most of those policies. And they've been wonderfully helpful throughout the entire process of helping us take their floor plans and really realize what size event we could run while still maintaining like things like a variant of social distancing. We're not doing 6 feet per person, but 3 or 4 feet per person. Things like how we could lay out a venue with setups and staging and still be very cautious and safe with regard to health policies.
How many people were you initially expecting to have when you first made the decision to run Riptide this year?
When we launched registration, we had a cap of 1,000 with regard to the space we had, and there are sort of 4 of us that are the principal organizers. 3 of them, the other 3, not me, said, "Oh, there's no way we hit that. People are still going to be very cautious. There's going to be a lot of anxiety." And I knew from having seen events, one event in particular in Florida, InfinityCon, run Smash, and it having hundreds of folks go, and that was in the beginning of June. I said to myself, "There's no way that we don't sell out immediately." And indeed, we opened registration, and we had 1,028 entrants within the first hour, and thus had to close because we have everything had capped. The events themselves capped very quickly, and we recognized right then and there that the demand for events was high, especially a demand for events that were obviously trying to take care of the attendees and make sure everyone was kept safe. So we started having conversations with the venue about, is there anything else we can do? Can we somehow get more space? And that turned into a 2 weeks process of trying to bring that magic of a Smash tournament back, a major Smash tournament back to our attendees, while also constantly being worried about how we would lay out a space and how we would make sure there's no crowding or there's no places that might cause any sort of anxiety for folks who are still re-entering the world as we know it.
So you talked about having 1,000 people register within an hour. That was the first wave, right? Because there was a second registration period, and now, as of recording, you're on the third, correct?
We are, yeah. So we've been speaking to our venue constantly throughout this process, and after the first wave finished, and we had that swelling of support and people saying, "Oh my gosh, I really want to go to this event," we spoke to the venue where we managed to secure. So the original space was around 30,000 square feet. We managed to secure additional space, additional rooms, areas of the venue to bring us to 70,000 square feet. We raised the cap at that point to allow in about another 1,000 folks. Those spots sold within minutes. We launched registration 2 days later for that second wave, that second sort of first enlarging of the vending space. And those went in minutes. Ultimate, I think, sold out 200 and some odd spots in 7 minutes, 8 minutes. Ridiculous amounts of support. Again, all the while, we're still sitting as the organizers saying to ourselves, okay, we can't go crazy with this because this has, obviously there's a demand here, but we do have to be nervous and apprehensive about doing anything more than this. And so we had the first expansion, 75,000 square feet. We said to ourselves, that's it. Like, we don't want to talk about it anymore with the venue. We have 2,000 people in this space. We can do a good job with this space. And then the venue came back and said, well, what if you just took the entire event wing, bringing us from 75,000 to around 100,000 square feet? 100,000 square feet is an alarming amount of space. It is cavernous. It's, not counting the end zones, larger than 2 football fields. Like, it's so much space. So we spoke with the venue, really went through our floor plans, and then, chose to take on the full event side of the Kalahari in Sandusky, Ohio. And we opened registration again yesterday. Didn't raise the event caps too much, but did offer spectator passes, which is something we hadn't really gotten to offer the first 2 waves because the competitor passes sold out so quickly. And so, we opened registration yesterday. Events capped within a couple hours, and we are looking at a 2,600 person event now in what can only be described as a cavernously large space. I'm sure in hindsight, in 2 or 3 years, when I look back on this event, I'll say, oh my gosh, we could have housed so many more. But I'm happy that we sort of put our foot down at all passes and said we don't want to go past this point. Just because for at least the Smash community, we are the first large event back and we want to do right by them.
Do you feel any sort of pressure being that first big event, big offline event? I know we've had locals starting to come back, but you're going to be the first one. You're going to have a whole lot of eyes on you. Is there anything in particular that you and your team are nervous about? Or is there anything in particular you're not nervous about? That might be the shorter answer.
No, I think the flippant answer is, of course, what do I have to worry about? We've done all this planning. But as anyone who's done event running knows, that's the very beginning. And the contingency plans and the what do we do in these cases plans start now. Yeah, I would say all throughout the process of talking to the venue, we all expressed sort of a trepidation about moving beyond our initial plans, welcoming so many people. But there is this sense I have of, I'm happy it was the four of us deciding and figuring out this process, because I know, and it's not out of malice and it's not out of anything besides maybe just not being as cautious as we are, that any other event had a chance of doing it wrong. And I'm happy at least that we have the capacity to be the first one back and to be overly cautious and to have all of these policies in place and to have all this space laid out to prevent crowding and to prevent gathering of people and still, fingers crossed, give the 2,500 Smash players the experience they're looking for in their first event back. I would say the biggest worry I have is just that we won't have thought of everything before the weekend. But that's true of every event that I've ever run is, do I have contingencies for my contingencies? The health side of it is really straightforward. The guidelines are really easy to follow. We just have to play with AutoCAD and set up a room in a certain way. But that part I'm not as worried about. I think the bit that will always nag at the back of my mind is, what will I not have thought of until it happens?
If you want to catch the interview, it will be on our YouTube channel and our audio channels, including SoundCloud and Spotify, all of your favorite podcast platforms. That should go live once this episode is over, so about 15 minutes or so.
Thank you, Steve, for tracking down Jaaahsh, and thank you, Jaaahsh, for your time in sitting down and having an interview with Steve. I can't wait to see what that's all about. Now, speaking of big blowups, there was an announcement last time we had the show, and that was that CEO was coming back, and pre-registration was happening. Pre-registration has happened, and I think it happened big, right, Steve?
It happened real big. Much like you saw with Riptide. This went insane. It was almost like a sneaker drop. It was along those lines. Because, they announced the 10-game lineup. Or the 9-game lineup, excuse me, for CEO. And it just, all of the registration, they had caps for each of the games. All 10 games, excuse me. And all of those caps got hit within 3 days. And for many of them, it was significantly quicker than that if we can pull up the game list. You see Guilty Gear Strive, the biggest one, that hit 512 players in half an hour. Smash sold out in an hour. Street Fighter and Tekken took a little longer, but still 500 players in 2 days and 3 days is nothing to sneeze at. Marvel 3, 128 players in less than 2 hours. BB Tag, 128 players in less than an hour and a half. DBFC, 256 players in just around 3 hours. The response, it was insane. as of right now, all games are at their cap. However, CEO is going to reopen registration next Sunday, June 27th at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. There will be additional slots for all the games. Most of them are going to be 64 additional slots, but DBFZ is going to have an additional 128 instead. And Strive and Smash Ultimate are going to raise their caps by 256. So this will be, as Jabalius said, the last opportunity to sign up for any games here. If you miss out here, you are missing out.
I don't even want to look at hotels to see. I'm sure
they're
every
on
hotel,
their fourth one.
Yeah, I'm sure like every hotel within like a 50-mile radius is sold out at this point. That's crazy. That is wild. And yeah, you know what? Everybody's bringing up the same thing I was gonna bring up. Grand Blue Versus. Dumb some numbers. You know, especially for a game that didn't get a lot of. It got screwed because right as it came out is when the pandemic hit. Also, Sharpie, you're muted again.
Right. No, I self-muted, actually, because I was going to say the exact same thing as you.
Awesome. Do you want to say it again? You could probably say it better.
It's important to remember that Grand Blue's numbers being so high is very important because it was the game that had last come out right as soon as the quarantine started. And unlike other games that had come out previously during the pandemic, its netcode was not strong enough to, I want to say, give it a fighting chance going into the pandemic. So it never really had a launch. A lot of people are looking at this event as an opportunity to play Grand Blue for the very first time at a competitive major event, which is just super exciting. See, it was really very, very fantastically poised to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I cannot wait. CEO, I think, is CEO like the first offline major?
Depending on how you define major, because
Yes.
Riptide.
Oh, Riptide.
Yeah, Riptide is taking place in September. Climax at Night is in November. CEO is obviously going to be in December, but it is sort of in a tier above a lot of other events, you know, especially
Summer
within
Jam
the traditional era.
is also prior to that.
That's right. Summer Jam's coming back in August, right?
So I feel like the technical answer there is no.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be the very first major.
Yep.
It's just the most. I think it's specifically better marketed than Summer Jam right now,
Yeah.
so it has a larger basis of entrants
Right.
to pick from, just because of marketing. But
Yeah.
And I mean, historically speaking, like Summer Jam is a big event, and NEC is a big event, especially in scenes like DOA, because Big E does wonders for the DOA scene out there. But in terms of international attention for most scenes, I think CEO is like has been that tier right below Evo. It just seems like, and I hate pitting events against each other like this, but it does seem like this is the first massive one. The other ones are big, but this one is like a step above historically.
Right. Anyway, I'm going to do a little bit more research into Summer Jam because I'm a big fan. If it wasn't for Big E tournaments, I would not be in the FGC today.
see,
Hands down.
Elon, I was expecting you to speak up when Steve was saying something because I didn't want to be like the only one defending, you know, Northeast, and I know it's more your stomping ground than mine. So I was like, well, if Elon's not going to say anything, I'm gonna let it slide.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, Steve has a point. I think we can classify CEO and Combo Breaker as quote unquote super majors, right? Up there with Evo, quote unquote.
I have thoughts on that, but we'll discuss it at a later time when we have more time.
Sure.
And that's fair.
But either way, I'm excited events are coming back. I think that's kind of the big nugget of this small segment that we have here. And I did remember seeing in the Philly Facebook, the Philly FGC Facebook, that Summer Jam was coming back. And I regret not bringing it up. And I do hope that I can somehow finagle my way into Philadelphia to go to Summer Jam, because Summer Jam's out. And yeah, dude, Big E does wonders for the DOA community. He always makes the DOA tournaments free to enter with a giant pop bonus. Super fun, super good times. Anything else we want to say about CEO before we move on?
Just
See
to
you
put a bow
later.
on it. Wow. Just to put a bow on it, Summer Jam is going. More details are going to be announced later, but Summer Jam is going to be August 27th through 29th. NEC is going to be November 5th through 7th. So definitely not during Capcom Cup this time.
If they make Capcom Cup during that tournament, I am never going to a Capcom Cup ever again. I'm just going to NEC.
They're just going to cut off the last 5 qualifiers and just say, okay, we're doing it this weekend because reasons.
Ugh. Okay. So, big events in the horizon. Hooray. Go get your vaccines if you haven't, so you can go enjoy these events too. Next. There's, speaking of drops, Steve and Sharpie, there's some limited time merchandise that's been coming out recently. And I feel like it's going to be the next big thing. It's the next sneakers of the FGC. So we have to get them before they run out. And that is SonicFox plushie.
Honestly, I'm going to say it right now, Elon, but if you do not post a warning before you show us some of the cutest images I've ever seen in my life, I'm just not going to do this show anymore. I'm just not.
Okay.
It's in my contract.
Okay. Well, this is Sonic Plush. Sonic Fox. Sonic Plush.
Sonic Flush, everybody.
Sonic Plush. Damn it. Anyway, Evil Geniuses is releasing limited time Sonic Fox plushies. Get yours while supply lasts. Big ups to Fox.
Supply no longer lasts.
Is it gone already?
It's gone. It was gone within like 2 hours.
Are you joking? No.
I am not joking.
This is why we can't have nice things in the FGC. They go too dang fast.
I get paid on Friday. No.
Sad times. I can't recreate this picture. I want to recreate this picture right here.
Everyone, it was just announced today. It was just announced today. I was going to buy one for me and then one for one of my friends who goes to offline locals and is a developer and really wanted the game. I'm sorry, the plushie. And then another one to give away later. I wanted to buy 3.
Them's the breaks, as they say. Sad times for all.
So it's sold out in 2 hours, 15 minutes. Grand opening, grand closing.
Man. I like how the FGC was known as like the poverty esports, but everybody's buying out everything. Who's got money? I want money.
I want a plushie.
It's not the FGC buying things. It's people buying to invest.
True.
It's
there
the
are
same
Sonic
people
Fox
who are buying up.
plushies. Sonic Fox plushies, the next Dogecoin.
Pretty much, they're gonna try and turn it into an NFT somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I
think. Can we play the video that they did to release it? I have it right here.
I don't think we have the video, unless you can copy and paste it into our chat on vMix here. That'd be great.
Oh, I posted it in the doc.
Oh,
I posted it underneath the original thing in the doc.
I don't have the doc opened on this computer. No.
Okay, well, I posted it in the chat as well.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, that's my own fault. Like I said, I shouldn't have added it literally right before we started, so.
There you go. EG Cross Sonic's Fox plushie. Bam, bam, bam. It stands on 2 legs and sits? Okay. This is crazy. No wonder these things sold. I want one.
Right? Look at how cute it is!
That
thing is so cute.
This is too adorable. So big ups to Sonic Fox and to EG. EG.GG.
It's GG for anyone who wanted to buy it.
That is true. Very true. It's GG for all of us. Oh, look at him.
I really just have one question here.
Yes.
Why are the arms red?
Their suit is like that too.
Yeah, but why are the arms red on the suit and on the plushie.
Because it's Sonic.
Yeah, you just don't ask. It just is. SonicFox does what they do, and you just roll with it. We're all living in their world.
Skullgirls fans, thanks for watching and understanding the reference.
I sorry, I don't know.
It's okay.
All right, last segment of the day. E3 just happened. Do we have any thoughts? Everybody forgot about E3, to be completely frank.
I didn't forget. I didn't watch it because, to be very honest with you, I feel like E3 doesn't represent what the gaming industry is anymore. I don't see any reason to watch it. Should I watch it and then see some game that's not even completely finished, that like may have just finished like alpha or something and is now going into beta that won't be ready for like another 2 years, or a game that just went into production that may be canceled at any point in time? Like, I don't need to watch an event for that, you know? I understand like the idea behind it, but it doesn't feel like E3 is a huge calling for me in the gaming sphere anymore. I enjoy watching it for the technical things. I actually really enjoy the tech that they show off at E3, but that's more of an offline experience, not an online experience. The online experience mostly focuses on new games. It doesn't really focus on electronics anymore. So I don't really watch E3 for new games anymore.
Yeah,
But
it's
congrats to everyone, all of the hosts and all of my friends who had an opportunity to host the event. Much congratulations to them. Congrats to all the developers and producers who managed to like come out with a game throughout this past year's environment. Congratulations to all of them. Me personally, as a consumer, I didn't feel like this event was worth attending, even virtually, just because there was nothing I was really excited for at all. I didn't want to see them be like, by the way, here's what we're working on. See you in 2 years. See you in 3 years. Here's some high resolution, non-gameplay rendered thing in After Effects that we made that you can't even play on the engine right now, that won't look anything like the gameplay. I'm too old to see that nowadays. It's still exciting. It's just, it's not worth me putting more energy into my day for anymore.
Yeah. And to go off of your point, Sharpie, I think somebody had said this earlier, and I agree with what they said, is I think we got to see the effect of the pandemic in the gaming industry via E3, because there was a whole lot of nothing. I mean, not that there wasn't anything, but it felt very light compared to past years as well. So I think if anything, it was that eye-opening experience of being like, right.
It's sort of like it's a double whammy, because even pre-pandemic, Nintendo started going to direct. Sony started doing its own experience, where they could control not only the narrative but the timing. They didn't have to focus all of their advertising in this random date in June. They could put it wherever they wanted. And then once the pandemic hit, everybody else who started doing that as well. Like, okay, we got to do an online sort of thing. So now you got to, from E3's perspective, they got to try and almost talk these companies out of doing the things they're already doing. So why would Nintendo want to be, for smaller publishers, smaller devs, it makes sense to band together and have E3 and kind of get all of the spotlight as you can. But if you're a Nintendo, why would you want to share the stage with Sony and Microsoft? If you're Microsoft, why would you want to share the stage with Nintendo and Sony? You can do things on your own, do it your way, and have full control.
Word.
It's also very frustrating to me personally that this past year, E3 had an opportunity to really reevaluate the way that they were doing things. Like a lot of what you said, Steve, wasn't inherently incorrect. This was kind of like something that we've seen all year. E3 had an opportunity to stand apart and really show why they were a pillar in the gaming sphere. I don't feel like they did that. First of all, the event last year had been canceled due to coronavirus. They had a huge opportunity to come back and start a brand new slate and just be like, we're doing something we've never done before entirely. And it was missed. You know, like they could have come back and announced a whole different format of doing it. They could have had a plethora of different games. They could have opened it up to a series of new publishers. They could have had an indie showcase of their own. And it really felt like the bar was dropped in lieu of a safe format that we had seen previously that didn't really excite or expand and, like, dare I say it, really impress any veteran consumers in the gaming industry, myself included. Not to state that the games there didn't look fun, the showcases didn't look fun. It's just I wasn't, comparatively to past experiences of E3 and me viewing it, be it albeit younger or even just about half a decade ago, I don't see much change, and that's both towards, like you said, Steve, how the gaming industry has been over the last year, and just how I feel E3 as a company is not necessarily innovating themselves enough to stay competitive in this environment any longer.
I don't disagree. To be completely honest, it does feel like they blew it. Speaking of Blue 561, thank you for resubscribing to the channel for 32 months. Big thank you.
That was a good one. That was a good one, Elon. That was a good one.
I mean, they did blow it.
You should be proud of that one.
I agree. And, you know, with all that said, I feel like they basically asked Nintendo to put their Direct on E3 because
That's really what it felt like.
Yeah.
That's really what it felt like. And I don't think anybody was fooled for a singular second. You know, I'm no disrespect to any company that, you know, purchased advertising time or something with E3 or anything like that. I don't know how the company functions. I don't know how any part of E3 really functions because I've never been asked to take a part in any part of it. But what I will say is that it would just be nice to see a complete rehaul of the way that event runs, specifically so that it can start catering to newer aspects of game. I would have literally loved, and I know everyone's going to hate me for saying this, I would have loved to see more mobile game announcements at E3. There is the whole next generation of gamers that do not have consoles, that are exclusively mobile gamers, especially people that are, I would say, like, this is just a rough estimate, but, like, you know, people that work that can't afford a console. I would love to see just a segment in E3 dedicated to some of the really high-level mobile games. That would be awesome. But there's this whole stigma around mobile gaming. And are we going to see that stigma broken at one of the biggest gaming expos in the world? No, because they don't care. You know, like, there's a status quo that we're still pushing for some reason. And it's just disheartening, honestly. I want to see more. I want to see more push towards making the new voices in the gaming community heard. And I want it so badly to be E3, because the alternative is that some other company does it or some other community does it, and then it overtakes that company, you know? But anyway, that's just Sharpie says, I suppose.
No, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you, and I feel like there's a lot of issues in a lot of communities with things like gatekeeping, right? And I feel like this is a big one for the games industry, among, you know, other really shitty gatekeeping, like, you know, keeping women and people of color out of the gaming sphere or whatever the fuck.
Well, even in the chat, I'm seeing, like, people that don't necessarily care about mobile gaming, which is interesting because despite the fact that, like, you know, we may not have necessarily grown up with mobile gaming, there's a whole community of people who have that are now moving into competitive gaming, not exclusively in mobile gaming, but in other aspects. So that's a very real experience that we may not have personally felt or grown up with, but there is a whole plethora of community members who have. And that is experience that's very special to them. And it would be really nice if our community could welcome them in that community by welcoming the entire gaming community of mobile gaming as a whole into the gaming sphere. But once again, it's not something we're seeing even at the highest levels, which is very disheartening.
Yeah. With that said, though, you can play any game that you could play on your Xbox on your phone via Xbox Cloud or whatever it's called.
That's kind of cool.
So I guess that's a step in that direction. And the thing that... Nice. Did you get it?
I did.
Nice.
Bravo.
The thing that
Thank you.
that I think impresses me the most is, like, I'm not an Xbox person, right? I've always been a quote-unquote Sony fanboy. Not console wars, it's just what I grew up with, and that's what I'm comfy with.
Kevin Butler.
What about Kevin Butler?
The actor that was like, he would read those PSN things, and there's a whole marketing campaign back in like the early 2000s, late 90s.
The executive vice president of everything.
Oh,
That's
And
why
he got
I became a
fired
Sony
from being-
fan.
yeah.
He actually got fired because he used a Wii in a tire ad, like a Bridgestone ad.
That's right. I remember this now. Yes,
So
I remember this. But what I was gonna say is, sorry to just jump onto my point because we're kind of over time here. I just wanted to say, like, that offer of, hey, you can be playing a game on your computer or your console, and then you can pick it up right where you left off on your mobile device, and then come back after work or wherever you were playing where you're not supposed to, and keep going from where you left off is so attractive. I really want to do that shit. Know what I'm saying?
I do it all the time with like Runeterra, to be very honest with you. The fact that I can play Runeterra on both my computer and my phone. I can't drop it and come back, but I can play it on both platforms. That makes it just so much more accessible to me. And I think there are a lot of games like that that are very well formatted so that they can do it. And I just wish more people would be open to it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway.
I'm sorry, this is the last I'm going to say about it, but it's just the same type of gatekeeping we saw previously with like PC players versus arcade players. People that didn't have money to purchase their own PCs or consoles, those people are now mobile gamers. And we see other types of gamers almost like discriminating against them just because they may not have the funds to use anything other than a phone.
Yeah.
That seems really messed up to me specifically. And I feel like more than anything, people inside the fighting game community should understand that.
Yep. I agree. And it does feel very hypocritical too. So
not calling out anybody specific. I wanted to say that.
Crimson
'cause I
Wander
feel like
said it in our chat.
No, we don't want to send hate. This is a podcast, Elon. There was a conversation in our chat specifically about I hate mobile games and someone co-signing with it, and that made me realize and bring up the topic that this is a very, very common feeling with all gamers, not just competitive gamers. All gamers don't feel like mobile games deserve a spot in the game sphere.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that needs to change for sure. However, this is a conversation for another time because we are officially out of time by over 10 minutes. So it is time for us to skedaddle on out of here. First, before we do that, since we're already over, do we have any final parting thoughts? Steve, you look like you want to say something.
I just threw a link in chat for the Jaaahsh interview. Definitely give that a check. We talk about what he thinks about the future of events might look like, as well as his thoughts on events being asked to hold certain registration, a certain amount of registration slots, for top players. So, interesting conversation. I hope you give it a check.
Yeah, and again, big thank you to Jaaahsh for taking the time. Sorry again for the technical difficulties, everybody. That one's on me. I'll take that one. Sharpie, any parting thoughts?
There is one thing that will make you a very, very good gamer. You can take this bit of advice from me as someone who has gamed competitively for the last 20 years. Play games that make you happy.
I agree. That's a rule to live by, not just in gaming, but in everything in life. All right, that has been this week's episode of Best of 5. I've been Elon. This is my information here. This is the main squeeze, Steve Ace King Offsuit Jurek. And the inimitable, the Purple Sharpie.
I can't spell inimitable.
Me neither. Thank you for joining us for this week. We'll be back next week. Steve, Sharpie, say your things.
Every good podcaster has a sign-off phase.
Good night, Canada.